right, here we are on the lovely map Daybreak, and there is a Zerg player. It's not this one, though. It's NsHoSeo.Brave as the blue Protoss up in the top right. Down in the bottom left, we have Zanmato, or Vortex, as you probably know him better. He's the purple Zerg in the bottom left. And
yes.
The reason I said there is a Zerg on this map is because I was like, oh, Daybreak, that's where Zergs like to go crazy and just take their whole side of the map right away. So I was making sure there was a Zerg. To prepare myself mentally. Vortex could be building lots of hatcheries soon. We'll have to see.
He's a really good Zerg player, too.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the best. And the Karont3 Esports Club guys are super awesome. I just want to put that out there. Did have the pleasure of meeting them all at DreamHack Valencia, and everyone from their management to the... it was actually pretty funny, because I can say this now, because this was when they had actually played their first match, which they won. I forget who it was against. I think it was against Empire. I didn't know the results of it yet.
Pretty sure.
And so we're actually sitting there, and he's like, oh, I know you can't know the results of matches yet, which clearly told me probably who had won, you know?
Yeah.
But then, like, Vortex runs up and he's like, Kevin, you won't believe it. We beat Empire. And the manager's like, oh, what are you doing? And later on, like, LOL versus XD's like, hey, Kevin, did you hear we beat Empire? And the manager's, I don't know, it looked like an old slapstick comedy to me, because he was just turning red in the face
pulling his hair out and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Little squiggles appeared above him.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome, though. They're really super awesome guys, and they're really passionate about StarCraft, so best of luck to them. Brave already queuing up to 17 probes. He actually had an 18th there for a second, but that was a mistake, and he will drop down a 17 Nexus.
All right. Seems to be all in order there. Playing against a Zerg opponent can be risky, dropping that Nexus first. We did see a game yesterday where Minigun tried to do something like this and got a proxy hatch in his natural. So if Vortex is feeling lively, maybe he might send a drone over there, but he's just going to drop his hatch, of course, at his own natural expansion. Forge is coming up now for Brave. Not a whole lot else going on.
No.
NsHoSeo's roster, we can talk about, is a little bit smaller than it may have been in weeks past. They're getting rather low on that end. So actually, these are two of the smallest teams overall left in IPTL. So, hopefully they can get an influx of new players. I know Karont3 actually just added Verdi not too long ago to the roster. He's not technically on the team.
Karont3,
he's kind of on loan. That's kind of an interesting system they've got, to be honest. They're just like, hey, do you want to play for us in IPTL? I'd be like, yeah. It didn't matter who I was playing for.
Well, IM does that with MC, so.
Yeah, that's true. But just MC.
Yes, because they have, a ridiculous lineup apart from that.
Yeah.
All right, well, of course, 3 hatch coming out for Vortex before gas. In about 35 drones, he'll throw up some gas and start moving ahead to upper tech, and Roach Warren a little bit after that. Brave hasn't really shown us anything weird, so this has actually started off to be a completely standard PvC, and we'll see if we get anything weird here in a second, like very quick 3rd and 4th gas, or if he bypasses +1 weapons off of the Forge with his first 100 gas. Those are kind of the indicators that something else is happening.
And Vortex is just happy, making more and more drones, overlords, queens, all those macro tools that you always see. No extractors just yet. He's just chilling, making lots of stuff, lots of drones. He can get as much mining income as he can before, stuff starts hitting the fan, and Brave might show up with some attacking units here soon. We still have to see where his tech is going to lead him now that the cybernetics core is done. He's got about 100 gas, so still a little ways before we can figure out what he's got in mind for Vortex.
And he decided to produce a Stalker first, and he bypassed +1 weapons. So he's banking what gas he has, but he's not going for any additional ones. While it could be something really high-tech, it could just as easily, and I would expect it to be a robotics facility, but we'll find out here in a second if he has a different use for that, maybe a Twilight Council or something. So Probe does get some pretty good scouting done. It checks to make sure that the 3rd is in place, and indeed it is. And yes, just as I thought, robotics facility is on the way for Brave.
All right, robotics facility up first for him. Not sure if we'll be seeing the typical observer first, or maybe even a quick warp prism. Totally depends on how many gateways he's able to drop between then and now. The fact that he's spending everything on sentries and probes makes me think he's just going to do a normal gearing up for Immortal Sentry. And, you know, that potentially could have some Warp Prism stuff mixed in, but it's not going to be just mass gates and a big warp in push. Instead, going to probably just be Immortal Sentry to get us started.
Yeah, and of course everything's hitting like normal for Vortix at about 35 drones. He went up into 3 gas. Now he's got a few more than that with his Roach Warren on the way. Soon enough, we'll see Layer Tech and an Evolution Chamber. There's the Evolution Chamber, and with 100 gas, is it going to be Layer Tech right away? No, not yet. Oh, actually, no. He hadn't invested, of course, in circling speed. So the next 100 gas will go to Layer.
All right, with the Roach Warren coming up soon, Vortix can make a decision whether he wants to make a ton of roaches and just try to crash down the gate of Brave. Brave has 3 more gateways being added on. Oh, he is actually getting the Warp Prism. I was totally wrong. Warp Prism first out of that robotics facility. He is going to load up those sentries, and now that these other 3 gateways are finishing up, he'll be able to warp in quite a lot of stuff. So totally misdirected me. Here comes a single Immortal coming out of the robotics facility now. +1 weapons will be done as the Warp Prism is arriving, so this is all pretty tightly tuned for Brave.
There is a little bit of a tell here, because if Vortix gets up and sees the probe, he might expect that it's actually here instead of, like, a Zealot, for example.
Right.
He may expect that, well, why are there no attack units there? It's because they're all across the map. And Vortix, of course, is well aware of this now. I mean, he sees the creep tumors pick up on the vision, and looks like Brave just going to sneak in and do whatever damage he can.
Yeah, Warp Prism actually drawing a little bit of fire from the Queen. There are a good number of Lings here. No force fields being used. He's actually going to lift those sentries to try and keep them alive as long as he can. I like that move. You know, warping in more Zealots to take the brunt of damage from these Zerglings. So good sentry, Warp Prism micro, keeping those guys alive. Now we've got 2 Queens in the mix. Zealots will be able to deal with them as they are super low on health already. Stalker just taking some free shots at the drones, and this third base is in kind of a rough spot. We do have Roaches arriving now for Vortix. It doesn't look like Brave is going to have enough time to warp something. Oh, there he goes. 3 more Zealots warping in. A lot of drones getting hacked to pieces in the process.
And he picks up his Stalker, drops it back out, and is now starting to recover shields. Transfusion's actually hitting a couple of these Roaches, and they do provide a nice little buffer for the Queens, which haven't actually fallen so far, which is a nice nice touch for Vortix. He has lost 9 workers, which is pretty significant in economy. The continued units quit dropping out of the Warp Prism, and it doesn't look like Brave is going to do anything else up at the front, but he's already got 3 Immortals going to his 4th. He's putting a lot of resources into this follow-up attack.
And he's getting 3 more gateways, so it looks like 2 bases is all he wants to ever have in this game if he goes up to the 6 gates and continues to use the Warp Prism as well as he can. Overlord does barely manage to escape there, and Vortix is gearing up for a bit of a counter-attack, it seems, so I'm not sure if Brave is going to have the forces required to repel that. With 3 more gateways, he should have enough minerals to warp in something like 6 Stalkers. He's got those 3 Immortals, actually a lot of sentries on the ground as well, and this is a more typical force for what you see at this point in the game. He didn't lose too much aside from Zealots in that attack, and did get some nice worker kills.
All right, well, he's actually fully walling off his main and his natural. He wants to make sure that no damage will hit him whatsoever. Single photon cannon there. It is going to require a few additional units. The cybernetic score will go down in just a second. Looks like it's going to be a Stalker that's chosen to defend. The cybernetic score is actually getting quite low. He actually needs something else to help defend this, and he's not.
Oh, wow, so Vortix not going to follow up. Instead, he's going to respond home. Taking out the cybernetic score is a big boon, though, because now this Warp Prism, if it flips over, won't be able to make any more Stalkers or Sentries, only Zealots for the time being until that next cybernetic score gets done. Here's a round of 7 Zealots. Brave says, sure, I'll build whatever you want me to build. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to crash through this destructible debris. We've got a bunch of Roaches here. Oh, force fields pinning them in against the Zealots. That just hurts to see that. Vortix getting pinned in on one side and pinned out on the other. Immortals facing the Roaches on both sides. They're safely nestled between all of these force fields and Zealots and Sentries. So the Immortals are going to last quite a long time. Good micro there, picking up an injured Immortal. The second one will fall, though. And there's still a lot of Zealots and Sentries here, even if the second Immortal does go down.
3 Immortals have actually fallen. Just the 4th is remaining now. So this has done quite a bit of damage. But, you know, Vortix, he doesn't have a lot back at home. He's only got 6 Roaches on the map, and they're all just kind of coming in piecemeal right now out of the various different hatcheries. So he needs to be able to gather up all his forces to continue to do damage, and he loses another Queen.
That is a lot of Zealots. And remember, they do have +1 weapons. If you click on a Roach, I don't believe they have their +1. No, they don't have any upgrades at all. So the +1 weapons are certainly helping. The Immortal gets saved once again from all those Roaches, and a great force field on the ramp is going to allow this force of Brave to give a ton of time for free up in the main. He's got another sentry ready to go. All these drones are in danger danger. He's going to do another big round of Warpins, Stalkers, and Zealots, it looked like there. Immortal coming in again all the way back at home for Brave, but he just really needs to focus on keeping this push as strong as he can, because if this is all gone and Vortix is able to counterattack at all, it could be really, really big trouble for him. There is a counterattack actually streaming across the map now with a bunch of roaches, but Brave is going to try and do as much damage as he can before having to call it quits to these roaches.
Yeah, and he's already producing more Immortals back at home, and he's got his sentries in place, so it's a base may fall, but the game may end with this force that's coming out for Vortix. It's going to be very difficult for him to try and find a way to equalize. This is a good step. I mean, this is the kind of thing he needs to do.
Right.
And Brave is going to lose most of those probes. A few will get away, though. But can Vortix hold this?
With the sentries warped in back at the main, there's no way Vortix is ever going to get in there. He can just continue producing those over and over, those sentries, because Cybernetics Core is safely inside the main now, so he can hold that off forever. There's the well played from Vortix, and NsHoSeo.Brave actually taking the first game in pretty one-sided fashion.
Yeah, pretty good match there. But Brave does head up 1-0 for NsHoSeo, and it looks like the second player for NsHoSeo is going to be their manager.
Is that game 2? Yeah.
Rio.
Okay. Rio is not Verdi.
No.
Not Mikoel or Alistor or any other player, Walrus XD.
Yeah, you remember the guy that I was talking about that got like red at the ears when his teammates were telling him He's
the third Moreno Duran brother.
He is, as a matter of fact. He is actually. His brothers are Vortix and Lucifron. He has made one appearance in a team league here. That was actually in Team Arena Challenge 3. He got smashed to pieces.
Yes.
But we'll see if he has a little bit better chance here, maybe against Brave.
The fact that he plays Protoss and not Terran or Zerg makes me doubt his skills a little bit more. If he was learning from one of his brothers, that would probably be better for him. But we'll see how Rio, for our Karont3 Esports Club, does against NsHoSeo.Brave, who just beat Vortix in a one-sided game. Let's go to the break.
All right.